I've heard this phrase that in every man there is a fool and there's a king. The one you speak to answers. So in the multitude of complaints you have about your husband, have you ever taken the opportunity to just study your husband and think about what his love language is? And it's not just money or sex. I have a video where I talked about 7 lessons from the 5 love languages. It's a really lovely book that has stood the test of time. And, words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, physical touch, all those are different ways that people receive love. And it's a good one to check out, and it's kind of a great recap of the book as well, so look out for that. When we've experienced really great people, like you've seen a really great husband, maybe from your mentors, from your own family growing up, those women have had the time to become those great husbands, great fathers. They've been doing it for decades. Your father, if you had a great father and he was a great husband, has been doing it for 20-something years, 30-something years, 40-something years, maybe even 60 years. So he has had all that time to learn what it takes to be a great husband. So don't measure your starting point with someone's 60 years plus experience, When your husband falls short of your romantic ideals, you shouldn't immediately decide that he's not a good man. Ditch your preconceived notions and fictional expectations. Don't set yourself up to be disappointed or set your man up to fail, which is such a big one. No man can freely love under the weight of too much expectations. And I know this one is focused on men. Love your man. There will be love your woman one, so don't say how about the women. This is just men, okay? Next, you have to decide that the person you've married or you're going to be with is a good person. So don't judge them with the weight of men are, whatever negative stereotype you have in your head. Your first premise for entering into marriage as a single person, as a single lady, should be that you are about to marry a good man. You should not enter with preconceived notions like all men are lazy, please, selfish or promiscuous, things like that. Don't, if that's your idea of all men are this, then don't marry, until you've walked through those feelings. But don't just assume that all men are scum and then you're going to marry scum. Why do you want to do that to yourself? Start with the idea that there are good men out there, and you will find a good one and you marry a good one. And it's not that hard. There are really lots of good men. I know lots of good men. I personally don't know that many scummy men, and I'm thankful for that. Okay. How do you really show love to someone you already suspect of evil or misbehavior? Exactly. Your lenses are already corrupted by biases. So make sure that you have clear lenses going off. Refuse to embody people's hurts, hurts you saw from your parents or from experiences you had in past relationships, or what you've heard relationships are like. Choose that marriage is going to be good, that relationships are a good thing, and start from there. Start with a blank slate, that I'm not going to carry past hurts into this relationship. I'm not going to judge this person based on all men are this. If you elect to marry a man, then marry a good one. Don't marry one that you already think is bad and make life miserable for the two of you thereafter. Exactly. So don't start with the idea that men are not good and then you're just going to manage and this is just what we do. All men just go and all women just go and endure. Don't go with that mentality at all. There are lots of people having good marriages. I'm one of them, and you can be one too. So start with the idea that love is good and there is good that comes out of it. Remember that you attract what you expect. If you expect your man to be lazy, unambitious, and unfaithful, your attitude prompts him to act accordingly. I've heard this phrase that in every man, and I guess woman as well, there is a fool and there is a king. The one you speak to answers. Yeah. If you marry a good man, marry him knowing that even though he has his faults, there is more good than bad in him. Expect the best, not the worst of him. That's very key. Expect the best and not the worst of the man you marry. This mindset will form the foundation of the rest of today's discussion about loving your man. Look at your man objectively. Chances are you have a good man, and be thankful for that. Yeah. The first thing you need to know, ladies, is that first and foremost, love to a man means respect. Interesting. Again, I said I was going to be reacting to some of this as well, responding, not reacting to some of it. No amount of rubbing his head or speaking sweet words will replace a man's need for respect, which is very interesting that inherently there's a need for respect in each person. Yeah, let's lean into that. When asked to submit to or respect their husbands, some women interpret this to mean having to act stupid to please a man. Yeah, that's not what it is. Thankfully, it's not. This is not true. Most men want intelligent wives. You better. The conflict comes from when the knowledge or skill leads you to think you can usurp that position of the man in the home. Usurp is like, this is like the Nigerian in me and him coming out. Like, there's some words that we use that just now necessarily colloquial in North America, or maybe this is just higher vocabulary. Anyways, the conflict arises when you feel like being intelligent means that you should be the leader. This is a recipe for disaster and a sure way to create tension. And guys, I'm a feminist myself, but I like to say I'm feminist light, like to the extent to which it agrees with the word of God. I'm feminist. Anytime anything else, I'm not trying to fight submission and headship, because I understand submission and headship as divine positions. Each of them are good, and I like it. In my own relationship, it's not like, bam, I'm the head, do this, nobody else talks. We generally come to conclusions about things, so I don't feel some type of way about it. And I really took the time to school myself. I read a really good description of the word submission in John Piper's book, Preparing for Marriage, Help for Christian Couples. I don't remember the way he described it, but I'm pretty sure in the book review I did of that book, I defined it. So look it up there. I will link it somewhere here as well, if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening on the podcast, I will link it in the description as well. Okay, but I think it was like the divine calling to support or be a helper. I don't want to butcher it, so just look it up in the book. I like how he described it. Okay, let's keep going. The fact that you can do certain tasks better than your husband does not make you the head of the home. You are an invaluable partner, which means very valuable partner in the marriage, but your man is still the leader. Again, I haven't experienced this setup as like choking. I found it to be very beneficial to me. Like, okay, let me take that back. I haven't found this submission thing in marriage. We've been married for about 3.5 years now. Actually, I don't think it's up to half. 3+ years now. And I don't know, there's never been a time where I felt like he said submit and then my opinion gets discounted. That has never happened. We generally come to conclusions together, and it works like that. So I don't know, it has not been a thing that I've had to struggle with. And I have a handful of married friends, like 6 to 10, and 3 of which I'm close to enough to know this. And I know that I don't believe they've had situations where they've had submission, do this. And maybe I'm going to do a video where I talk to my friends about what does marriage actually feel like. Maybe we'll dive into this some more. Okay, let's give an example. Many women have the gift of administration. Okay, and I remember when I was reading this, I figured when I have Pastor Godman, I'm going to ask him about this. And you guys, I'm speaking this into life. Pastor Godman is going to be on this show. Amen. Many women have the gift of administration. Let's give an example. Many women have the gift of administration. They can manage household affairs better than their husbands. But the gift of administration must never be confused with the burden of leadership. I thought that was deep, and I tried to explain it to myself. But like I still fell short a little bit, so I'm going to ask him about it when I see him. But I think it's that you still honor the position of the leader even though you're doing a lot of work. And I don't want that to feel like you do all the work and they get the credit. So again, maybe I'll just leave it. I want to understand what that means because I don't fully get it. But if you do get it, put your explanation in the comment, and I'm going to read it again in case you missed it. Many women have the gift of administration. They can manage household affairs better than their husbands. But the gift of administration must never be confused with the burden of leadership. Once a woman feels she needs to step up to lead the family, the conflict would ensue. So let me know what you think about that and what your understanding of that phrase is. Anyways, but he goes on saying her husband will view it as disrespectful. And I don't want to seem like I'm gatekeeping patriarchy or whatever. Like sometimes when I share these things, I'm hearing the Twitter voices as well. Like, yeah. And I'm just going to leave that there. But respect is not about being mute or being a woman of few words. Case in point. After all, you can be silent in your husband's presence, yet curse him in your heart. That's very fair. Neither is respect just about an outward display of humility or servitude. Okay. There are women who kneel for their husbands in greeting, yet will insult him in the marketplace. It sounds like my something I have seen in movies and in Nigerian markets. That's very true. You can be very subservient and like outwardly, kneeling and curtsying and all, but in your heart you're cursing them, and to your friends and to your family you're saying evil things about them, which is actually not honoring. I just also learned that in marriage, that part of honor is not saying evil, not talking bad about your spouse or somebody you say you respect in public or to other people. Yeah. And then if you're thinking, so how do you check him if he's wrong? You have conversations with him, you report him to God. Except it's abuse. If it's abuse, get help. But like in general, like honor means also honoring their reputation. I feel like there will be questions about that one, so let me know if you have questions about that one. Anyways, it's saying, honey, these are my ideas, what do you think is our best course of action? Okay, I get this part, and I've done this as well. It is you saying, honey, these are my ideas, what do you think is our best course of action? So basically submitting your ideas as contribution, but also holding them loosely enough that it's okay if this is not how you decide we should go, but like I wanted to have this as input into the decision making process. Okay, I will follow your leading because I trust your judgment. I like that. Okay, so the full phrase was, honey, these are my ideas, what do you think is our best course of action? I will follow your leading because I trust your judgment. I think that's what submission is. It's not crazy, guys. It's not crazy at all. And I feel like in my dynamic in marriage, it has that just flows out of things. I never ever come to the table, and actually Obi as well, which I guess is mutual submission. Come to the table and say, this is my idea, let's do it. We always say, here, this is something great I thought about, what do you think? And then we have a conversation about it. If we don't know enough, we go and find more information about it, we pray about it, and then we decide. That's kind of how things get done. The truth is that a man who hears that from his wife will not want to look like a fool in her eyes. He will be very careful and circumspect in the decision he eventually makes. So circumspect being reasonable and like making sure that he has considered all the facts and things like that. Now you may say, my husband can't demand respect, he has to earn it. However, that is not God's way in marriage. The truth is, just as a man is to love his wife unconditionally, a woman is to respect her husband unconditionally. This is why I say to single people, the best time to be checking whether this is a guy you want to submit to is while you're dating. You have all the decision then. Walk away. The Bible doesn't call us to submit to men. It calls wives to submit to husbands. So until he's your husband, you don't got to submit to him. So you have the power to choose who you're going to be with. I'm like, is this person a leader? Do I respect this person's leadership process? Do I like how they come to decisions? Does their track record of decision making so far feel like something I can get in line with? Do I agree with decisions they've made in their life? And what does it look like if my life is under their leadership? Just let that sink in for a second, because that's really what you're doing in dating. Do I like what I'm seeing enough to come under this leadership? And if the answer is no, don't waste more time there. So very interesting that the same way the woman is supposed to love unconditionally, the woman is supposed to respect unconditionally in a marriage. So husbands love regardless of whether they're getting love back, and wives respect regardless of whether they're getting respect back. Ideally, you should be getting respect back and you should be getting love back. But there are seasons where you default to duty there are seasons where you default to duty in deference to God, who has called you to that duty, even when you're not feeling like it. I'm halfway through listening to a podcast where Preston Perry is on, and he's talking about how there was a season where his wife Jackie was kind of recoiling into her shell because she was finding that a lot of it was in the early days of their marriage, and he was saying that eventually they realized that like they were growing in love and all of that, but that scared her because she's somebody who was abused as a younger person, and having that much love and honor for someone who then hurts you kind of puts up walls and makes it that when you see that happening again, in this case where your husband, you're becoming closer and closer, you're loving him more, the more they know about you, the more you love them, the more power they have to hurt you. And so she was recoiling, right? We were married, and in that season he still was called to love her. Do you get? So it's things like that. So even if there are seasons where a guy is, I don't know what the equivalent would be, where that's happening, you still are called to respect your husband. Again, not your boyfriend, not your brother, not your friend that is a guy. You're only called to submit to your husband. You can respect people because humans deserve respect, but that's about it. Okay, so the big question then becomes, how can you honestly and sincerely show respect to your husband? And what does that look like? And that's what we'll be talking about in part 2 of this video. So if you've enjoyed this so far, please give it a like. I asked a bunch of questions during this video, so I want you to interact with me in the comments section. Let's talk things through and join hands with me in prayer that we will really get Pastor Godman to be on the show to talk to us. This is the Dear Fopsy podcast. My name is Fopsy, and if you've enjoyed it, please leave a rating if you're listening on a podcast platform, and if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and give this a thumbs up. And if you really enjoyed it, share it to your story with your friend or something. I'm always very active in my Instagram, so I'm at Fopsy the Great, and the podcast is at Dear Fopsy. You can tag one of us and I'll get back to you. It's been great chatting with you guys today. Be back for part 2. It should be uploaded at the same time if my schedule works together. If not, a couple of days later, it'll be up. All right, bye.